The pelisse is a fascinating and historically significant garment, deeply rooted in the fashion trends of the 18th and 19th centuries. Initially designed as a warm, outer garment, the pelisse has evolved over time into a fashion statement that epitomized the style and social norms of its eras. From its origin as a practical piece of outerwear to its position as a glamorous fashion item, the pelisse offers a glimpse into changing societal values, technological advancements in clothing, and the ways in which fashion reflected broader cultural shifts. The pelisse has its origins in the medieval period, where the term referred to a coat or cloak made of fur or wool, often worn by both men and women. It is derived from the French word pelisse, which means fur coat or cloak, which in turn comes from the Latin pellis, meaning skin or hide. These garments were particularly valued for their warmth and protection from the elements, as they were commonly made from fur, leather, or heavy wool. During the 17th and early 18th centuries, the pelisse was still primarily a functional piece of outerwear. Its structure was relatively simple, resembling a long coat with fur lining, typically worn during colder months. In the 18th century, it was not uncommon to see the pelisse worn by both men and women as part of their everyday wardrobe, though its style and form would evolve dramatically in the following century. The real transformation of the pelisse began in the early 19th century, particularly during the Regency and Victorian eras. The early 19th century was a period marked by changes in fashion, as the natural, classical silhouette of the 18th century gave way to a more structured and fashionable approach to clothing. In the Regency era, early 1800s, the pelisse became more closely associated with women's fashion, as it was designed to be worn over the more delicate, high-waisted gowns of the time. One of the most distinctive features of the Regency-era pelisse was its use of fur trim, which added both warmth and luxury to the garment. Fur collars, cuffs, and hems were commonly seen in pelisses, providing a contrast to the otherwise sleek and simple lines of the coat. The Victorian era saw the pelisse reach its peak in terms of popularity and intricacy. As Victorian society became more structured, clothing styles reflected the growing divide between public and private spheres. The pelisse, like many garments of the time, became a symbol of propriety and fashion. During this time, the pelisse was no longer just for warmth, it became a statement of status and refinement. In the mid-19th century, the pelisse took on a more elaborate form, often reaching floor length and featuring high collars, voluminous sleeves, and intricate trims. It was not uncommon to see a pelisse lined with sumptuous materials like satin or decorated with lace and ribbons. The Victorian version of the pelisse was also often tailored to follow the natural curves of the body, enhancing the feminine silhouette. By the early 20th century, the pelisse gradually fell out of fashion. With the advent of more practical and versatile outerwear, such as the trench coat and the raincoat, the pelisse became less common. Its association with formality and wealth also began to wane as society moved toward more casual dressing. However, the pelisse has never been completely forgotten. Throughout the 20th and 21st centuries, the garment has occasionally made a comeback, particularly in vintage and retro-inspired fashion. The elegance and timeless appeal of the pelisse have ensured that it remains a coveted garment in certain niche fashion circles, and modern adaptations of the coat continue to appear in high fashion and street style.